Welcome back to Cracking On with the Sun. We're joined by a very special guest today. Callum is in the studio with us. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me on. Lovely to be here.
It's a throuple,
Yay!
everyone!
I'm David Hay.
We want it to be a throuple rather than a triangle, and all these kind of triangles that are going on in the villa.
We don't do shapes here.
No throwing of shapes.
No.
So let's kick off by talking about the new arrivals, Sophie and Tom, and all their dates. I just think they've just gone in there and they've gone for it, haven't they? Stirred things up by the dates they've chosen, and they've had a lovely time eating, drinking, some like strawberry action.
Yeah, well, as I told you yesterday, Amanda, that strawberry action with Sophie and Josh, the chemistry, like I could feel it through the screen with the strawberry sucking.
It was a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
If we'd not all had our tea already, would it not have put us off our dinner?
No, it was kind of a bit saucy. There's a lot of chemistry, I thought, on the dates, especially with Tom and Georgia Steele. What did we think to them?
Well, I just need to take you back to Sophie's dates because I want to ask you what you thought about the chemistry between Sophie and Chris. Thoughts? Go.
All the
Stop
girls
there.
seemed to love Chris. I mean, they were lining up basically to pair up with him in the beginning.
I was
Yeah.
And
surprised
you've got all these really hunky guys. But, I think it's the humour. I mean, is that what are either of you, do you get what the attraction is?
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of like the Pete Davidson of the villa, isn't he?
Yes.
Is that safe to say?
Yeah. Such a good comparison. So what I think is interesting is I agree with you, Amanda.
What, the silence?
I am full Chris fan club. But the date with him and Sophie, I don't know whether it was the age. She's 24, he's 32, but it didn't really seem to be vibing.
I just was really surprised that she chose him in the first place. It felt like an odd match to me from the off.
I agree, and I've got some tea for you both.
What's the tea?
So tonight, Chris goes all in on Sophie, sacks off Arabella.
Arabella?
For Sophie.
Well, Sophie is stunning. I can see why. But Arabella's gorgeous too.
This causes a huge row. As you can imagine, Arabella incredibly upset about this. Let's not forget she's only just broken up with Ruben Diaz. You know, she's days fresh from that breakup, not weeks. And I would just like to say, what is Chris doing?
That's really shocked me because, there was no chemistry on the date, and he seemed to be completely head over heels for
He's not good
Arabella.
at reading signals. Some people just aren't.
He also, I think, who was it that took Arabella out? He kind of was like, back off my girl kind of thing with Tom. He was showing a bit of a territorial side, as if he was really quite serious about her. So the fact that he's done a U-turn in 24 hours, surprising.
I know. I was shocked. And also, let's not forget here, now I don't want to speak for all of the men of the world, but Chris, 32, Sophie, 24, Arabella, 33. So Chris has just dumped someone for a younger woman.
That's so cliche. So he's not really the nice, funny guy that we think then.
I know.
Because he's portrayed himself as this.
A bit like
he's
Dr.
goofy
Alex, we all
and-
thought he was really nice when he first joined. And then he I can't remember what he did now, but he displeased me.
You just
he
don't
displeased me. No, he did something on the show. What
it
did
was
he
when
do?
he went on the
What
date
did he
with the
do?
Ferrari as opposed to the girl that he was in the final with. Do you
Is that what
remember?
he said?
He just kept talking about the red Ferrari.
I don't remember
He
this.
said
This
Alex.
has been erased from my memory. It
He
was
just
5
wasn't
years ago.
interested in actually finding anyone. He was one of those people that kind of just goes in. He reminds me of Anton, that kind of, it's just a bit, there's something lacking there and no one seems to really fancy them.
Just happy to be there.
Just having a holiday.
I just want to go back to what you guys were saying about the strawberry, like, oh, it's so saucy, I can't believe it. 4 years ago or whatever, people were having sex with each other on that show. That doesn't really
Totally.
happen anymore on Love Island, does it? And now We
Now
kind
we're
of
getting
gasped at a
excited.
strawberry.
We're turned
sharing
on by
a
a strawberry. You're right.
That's
yeah,
such a good
how the
point.
show's changed.
I know. I miss the days of series 1 and series 2 because it was just wild.
I know.
Bring it back.
And now we've got Georgia sitting on Tom's knee at the end of their date. And
I know.
us all thinking that's a bit like, oh God. But you could see that they actually really liked each other, couldn't you?
Oh,
Yeah.
it was really nice chemistry and it felt intimate. I don't know whether they have been intimate previously. We know you were telling us yesterday that they had a little fling. As he had with Arabella, and then we saw it maybe meant a little bit more to them both than than we previously thought.
Yeah.
And watching her head turn sort of live, you could really see it, that she's going, hang on a second.
Yeah.
I know this has just started with Callum, but no, Tom is kind of the one that I'm
I
looking
really liked
for.
her with Callum. I thought they would be a nice couple. I was quite disappointed personally.
You know how you don't have to stand up for people just because they're called Callum too?
I know. No, do you know what? I was actually do the opposite. I don't like there being another Callum everyone's talking about. I'm used to being the only one.
He's the only
And now there's
Callum.
this other
You'll
Another
another
always be
Callum
number
out
one to
there.
us.
Thank you, Amanda.
No, so I'm thinking that Tom and Georgia are going to be a thing. How will Callum take that? Because he looked pretty upset on that balcony.
I
Looking over.
know. Oh,
I think
hopefully
it's-
he'll move
Or I have
on.
to say terrace,
He'll
not
move on.
balcony.
You know what? He'll be fine. I mean, he can probably get most girls that he goes for.
Yeah.
So
He's
I
not
think
getting a
he'll
lot of
move
action
on
in
pretty
that villa,
quickly.
though. That was
I
his
know.
only
Why
kiss.
is he not getting so much action? Maybe because people didn't want to get involved with Molly being there
Yeah.
as well.
I think
Yeah.
it goes back to that same thing that I just said about Arabella. When you are fresh from a breakup, sometimes the situation that you're in or the upset that you feel in that moment is actually because of upset that happened then. So I think that if Callum loses Georgia, we're almost going to see a ricochet of the hurt of losing Molly. So I think that's an interesting one to keep an eye on.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
the other thing which I want to talk to you about.
God, you've got it all today.
I know. As you can see, I really watched last night's episode.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So David Attenborough, as we've started calling him, because
Oh.
Anton loves narrating. He's become sort of almost the...
Ian Sterling has got to look over his shoulder.
Exactly.
Another Scotsman is after his job.
Oh my God, quite
Yeah.
right, yeah. But he does it in this very literal, the male is approaching the female. He is pushing the romance.
You can do a better Attenborough impression than that, Flick.
But David Attenborough has now taken on Mitch.
Yeah.
So he was up on the terrace and he was saying to, was it Liberty and Kaz?
Kaz, yeah.
Saying about how Mitch is there for clout and he keeps talking about his Instagram following.
I mean, no one's surprised about that. He was doing that all the time in his series, and I was told that, you know how they have the producers that actually come onto the set? Obviously, we don't see that on the show, but when it's being filmed, the producers are always walking around the villa and trying to get a gauge on what the latest storylines are. And he would just go up to them every day and ask, what's my follower count? Has it gone up?
Oh no,
How many
that's
followers
such
have
a
I got?
huge sign of insecurity, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
and-
that's such a turn off. If you're a girl in the villa and you're seeing that, I feel like
Well,
you
you're
would
not
kind
very
of sit
authentic.
back and go, well, you're not here for love, are you? You're just here for clout.
Yeah.
100%.
And the way he kept saying, I've been very clear with Liberty that I'm very, very open. I thought, when?
Yeah.
You know, he was saying number one, talking about marriage between him and Demi within 2 minutes of meeting them. He just talks a load of rubbish. I think he's coming across so badly.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, I think, between, you know, that threesome of another throuple like ours, of between Anton, Kaz and Liberty, they just all look so defeated last night.
Yeah.
And it was, I felt for them because they've kind of all ended up a bit just second choice all the time. So you've got Liberty is... Mitch is never going to want Liberty and just be loyal to her, faithful to her. It's not going to happen. Kaz is losing out to Tyler already. Hannah swooped in. No one saw that coming.
And then she said he stuck it on her.
Yeah.
I went straight onto Twitter because I was like, because I second guessed
followers have you
myself.
got?
I was like, I thought it was her who snogged him. I mean, she really she really, she stuck it on him. And then she said, no, he came on to me. And I thought, wait, did I just get that wrong? But everyone was on Twitter going, Hannah, what are you doing? Stop lying to the other
and I
Islanders.
think she was just trying. You know how sometimes like you can kind of convince yourself of something, and I feel like she just said it so many
like
times
the Roxanne
to everyone.
Pallet thing. I think she just convinced herself in Big Brother.
It's like they forget that they're surrounded by cameras and people watching them constantly. Never mind. Roll the tape.
The way I need to give credit to Love Island here for some of their editing last night. I mean, it's horrible, but I loved it when they put the two clips together of Georgia Harrison telling everyone that she's got the ick from Anton, then straight to Anton thinking everything's going really well.
Anton.
But then I think, I don't know whether some fans are thinking that we kind of missed a bit of action in the episode last night because of Anton looking really down in that throuple situation, because he just he looked defeated and Liberty and Kaz just looked really fed up, and they were then started sort of bitching about everyone else. So whether something's been missed, and we're going to sort of find that out. There's so much drama going on at the moment in that villa, and a lot of upset feelings. We know that there's the row happening. That can sometimes lead to people walking out.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some people, like, a good few times, probably won a series who, put themselves first, put their feelings first. And we've had a chat with one lady in particular, Amy Hart, who obviously chose to leave after Curtis Pritchard fell for someone else during Casa Amor, really broke her heart. Now, Callum, you've had a chat with her as part of her ambassadorship for Femme Health. So that's all about her fertility journey. She's frozen her eggs and now obviously has her lovely baby herself.
Yes.
And she had lots to say, didn't she?
I had a really lovely chat with Amy, actually, right before I came in here to film this. And she spoke about Callum and Molly, she spoke about Lewis going on the show despite having kids, and she had lots to share about her own experience of leaving the villa and how she had instant regret when she was packing her bags after making her big decision. She thought, oh my God, I can't believe I've done this. But she talks all about this, and we're going to play the clip on the podcast, aren't we?
Amazing. Let's hear from Amy.
This was a few episodes ago, but Jake's exit. Do you think he's going to regret it?
No. It's a very small, it looks really big on telly, but the villas are quite small, and, being in that situation with your ex, if you're not, like, you're in there and everyone's coupling up and stuff. I was really lucky. I was in a couple from day two. But I know from my friends that weren't, it was hard when everyone else is in couples and you're on your own. And if you didn't feel like you had a connection with anyone, and probably seeing Liberty get with other people, it would have been hard. So I think he made the right decision. And I never regretted my decision. I thought I would. I thought when I was packing my case, I thought, what have I done? Like, I'm going to get to the end of that driveway and be like, oh my God. But I got to the end of the driveway, took my mic off, and I was like, oh, I don't feel the regret. Like, I don't want to go to bed tonight because I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and be like, what have I done? Slept amazingly, had a really long lie-in, woke up, was like, oh, lovely.
Yeah. I think even if you do make a decision that you kind of regret, you've got to look back and think it was the right thing at the time.
And also, as well, you've got to remember the duty of care on Love Island is so good that it's not like he's literally gone, I'm gonna gather everyone, tell them I'm going home, then I'm gonna walk out the door. You have to go and tell someone you want to leave. They talk you through why you want to leave. They look at different options for you. You go and see the psych. It's a long process. You don't just go, I want to go home, and they're like, okay, see you later, bye.
So from experience, do the producers try to talk you out of leaving, or how does that kind of work?
Obviously they don't want you to make a knee-jerk, because once you've gone, you can't come back in.
Yeah.
So they do have to say to you, are you sure you want to do this? But if you want to go, you want to go. It's not a hostage situation. They're not going to keep
of course not.
But it's within your best interest as well, because the amount of times that you have a row with somebody, I want to go home, let me go home. Yeah. And they're like, I want to go home. No, I don't. You're right. I don't want to go home. You want to go. You want to go.
I wanted to ask you, so last week, Shona Phillips wrote in her OK column that she doesn't think Lewis should have done the show because he's got young kids. And you've obviously got Hannah in there with a son as well. Can I ask for your take on that, given that you're a mum yourself?
That's like saying nobody with kids can do I'm a celebrity Big Brother coach trip. Like nobody can like so you just never have any so we wouldn't have had that lovely moment with Charlie Brooks and I'm a Celebrity when
Yeah.
Kiki ran on and jumped on her and and you wouldn't have had Giovanna or Jacqueline Josser winning the jungle. Like I don't think kids should stop like obviously I love Sani to death and but being away from him from work, it's work and at the end of the day people are creating, are earning money to put food on the table at the end of the day.
There are also all these allegations about Callum and Molly staging a fake breakup so that they could get on the show. Do you think that might be true or not?
I think if you look at the timeline, All Stars hadn't actually been announced when they broke up.
Okay.
And it's a bit elaborate, I feel. And also, quite clearly, if that was the case, surely they would have, like that first night, been like, oh my God, I love you. Oh my God, I love you too. We should never have broken up. Let's just get back together. Like, quite clearly, with what's going on, there is a lot of beef there.
It was really lovely to catch up with Amy, and I can't wait until the next time we do it.
Yeah.
Oh, she's such a legend, isn't she?
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Oh, what a babe. So speaking of babes, obviously we've got a new one in the villa in Sophie Piper. Mm-hmm. You've got something to say.
I know, I'm scared to say it because I feel like I'm being really mean, but...
Oh no, what are you going to say?
Sophie's voice. It to me, it feels like, the scratching of your nails on a
No, see, I think that about Liberty, but I don't think it about Sophie.
So it sounds like a mix between that she's tipsy or she's kind of a baby.
She might be.
It's like this.
Not
really,
the baby. She might be tipsy.
And I don't know, like, is she exaggerating it? And if so, why? I just it baffles me. I just think it sounds like she's just I don't know, not all there.
No surprise that Amanda's in Mean Girl pink today.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I'm not normally a mean girl, but it's just a lot. I remember thinking that in her series, and she came in. It's just the way she exaggerates. It's like she elongates every single word.
I'm going to pay close attention to this tonight. That's not something I'd even noticed last night.
I think,
no, not at all.
Like you said, Liberty's voice, you said Sophie's voice. I guess we all have a thing that we notice, like humour's subjective, isn't it? My Islander, whose voice I can't cope with, was, do you remember Lucinda with the
Really?
Yeah. I actually have been watching...
Kind of like Sophie,
that was a bit much.
Yeah. I actually was watching a little bit of the Australian series of Love Island that Lucinda's been on recently.
She's still doing it?
She still does it.
No. Oh, surely you'd stop.
I don't know whether she thinks it's her thing or it just is so embedded. I mean, I know I have things that I guess we all have our things, don't we?
Yeah, and we don't all go on TV for millions of people to judge us for it, Amanda.
I'm just trying to offer some friendly advice that she needs to
but
not
do
do
you guys not hear it with Liberty as well? I mean, can someone back me up here? So I don't sound like a mean guy.
No, I think I would agree.
Flick. I'm going to get you back.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amanda.
And speaking of like her sounding a bit tipsy, there's quite a lot of people online that are saying that potentially the alcohol intake is upped. Has been up this series.
Maybe.
I mean, they've always I've always wondered how they make these 2 glasses apparently that they're only allowed to have per night. 2 glasses of wine or 2 glasses of prosecco. How they make it last for the hours and hours and hours. Apparently
well, they're white cups, aren't they? So they just pretend to sip them, and there's nothing in them. I think I'd heard that from someone.
Pretend?
Yeah, I think I'd heard that.
They just don't put water in it, and
Yeah, they just pretend.
Hydrate.
Yeah.
Or like soft drinks and stuff.
Because they film until like 3 a.m. or something,
Yeah.
and but they want to obviously try and control to stop it being a series 1, series 2 scenario when everyone's a bit kind of wild. But
Which is what all the viewers want.
And a lot of people are saying that the reason that this series is a little bit more saucy, there's a lot more action. There's already been fights, and obviously we're only in week 2, and and they're all saying that's because they're drinking more alcohol.
Yeah, like maybe they trust them because they're like practice. I tell you what, that's one for you to ask Ollie tomorrow on the podcast, because he's been to the villa, if you remember, and he's spoken to Mike, the exec producer. Maybe he's got an insight on the booze this year.
I will be asking him, don't you worry.
So the thing that I've noticed, and this isn't necessarily a show thing, but have you guys seen there's been a distinct uptick in Islanders Instagramming themselves on a plane?
Yes. So fed up of this.
So for me, it's because they want us to be like, oh my God, they're flying to South Africa.
Yeah.
They're going on all sorts. And there's even Islanders who, you know, we've not heard are rumoured to be going in as a bombshell, who just so happen to be in South Africa on holiday. So for example, there's Chugs. Do you remember Chugs? Cuddles and Hugs.
Well, I do, but also only because I thought of his name as a bit odd, and like it stands out for that way, but he wasn't a standout person. There was no way that he would be in All Stars.
How desperate have you got to be to actually book a holiday? I mean, look, it might have been a coincidence, but just to get a story written by us, how desperate are you to spend thousands just on a story, just to get us to write one throwaway story that they might be going out there?
There's so many instances on Instagram where they are, you know, they just do that tease. You know how that whole new thing now is when someone's like showing you your they've got a new boyfriend, and it's like they call it a soft launch. So they'll be out for dinner, and you know, maybe there'll be a hand just right next to them,
or a
with
beer,
a nice watch, and
and
like
so
with
wine.
Chloe Brockett this weekend going away with her man, but that's away from Love Island. But yes,
they're all at
I
it
did
though.
that one. Yeah.
And that's what they're kind of doing. Everyone's like just taking pictures of their suitcases or flight tickets, or I'm, you know, and putting a bikini picture and like looking forward to getting back in the sun, and you're like, for God's sake, guys, desperate.
My favourite of this though, just from a rudimentary sweep of the seat selfies, is Kem. Obviously famous from the Kem and Amber Year Series 3, I think it was.
Won it.
And won it. And I think everyone would agree is a proper Love Island legend.
Yeah.
He's done an Instagram on the plane. Now, I mean, he would be a sensational booking, I think, because I think hugely loved by everyone. As far as I know, not problematic. But then he did have that little thing with Georgia Harrison.
Oh,
I don't think I knew about that.
Yeah.
No.
So,
That
this
would be
is
a
because we're
perfect
talking.
bombshell.
We are talking historic Love Island alumni. Page 1. So I think he'd be a great booking. So fingers crossed, Kem isn't just doing it for attention, and he might be heading over.
Because he's actually been back in touch with Amber, his ex. They didn't
Yeah,
speak
for
for a long
Dancing on
time
Ice
after,
support. Yeah, so that's
after
a
breaking
nice
up.
thing.
And so maybe he's been maybe he spoke to her. She's asked him for tips about Dancing on Ice, and he's asked her, what do you think? Shall I go back in to the villa?
Exciting. But then let's face it, the one that we all want is Chloe Burrows.
Oh yeah, she
would
the best.
be fantastic.
Yeah.
But we
Again,
are
another
only
kind
2
of-
weeks in, aren't we? And I think it's on for 6 weeks or something like
Yeah.
that. So we're going to have so many people.
My new
coming in,
favourite
aren't we?
theory for Chloe Burrows, though, is that she's not doing it because she's doing Celebrity Big Brother.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Big Brother is now ITV. They quite like that kind of cross-promotion. And I think Chloe Burrows would be sensational for Celebrity Big Brother.
For sure. But, I mean, she doesn't need to go in for Toby. I think it is all done and dusted there. And she keeps, like, you know, liking different Twitter posts or Instagram kind of swipes at Toby. And she's like, why would I be bothered about everything that's going on in there? You know, this is in the past. And I don't see her walking in.
But I
think
also-
that she wants
I
her
think-
own thing. And going into... Imagine being in the first relaunched Celebrity Big Brother. That's huge.
That's
isn't it?
much more iconic. I mean, and still, I keep checking with our Villa Spies, and it's still a no for Chloe. But as you say, there's
I think
weeks
Toby
left.
needs to be put in his place. And I think she's the best person to do it.
That's just ITV.
Yes.
So speaking of Villa Spies,
Yeah.
I've got my little tea update for you.
Okay,
Go
great.
on.
Tonight's show. Obviously, we had the vote open last night for the public to choose who couples up with Tom and Sophie. And I loved that they did that because it all became quite obvious who they were going to choose, didn't they? It looked like Sophie was quite into Josh, and it looked like Tom was obviously going to go full pelt for Georgia Steele. So the public, as always, haven't played ball.
Okay.
So that's one to watch. So we'll see that tonight, who gets coupled up with who. And then a recoupling is looming.
Ooh.
So any predictions for that?
For recoupling.
So why are they
I think
doing
we're
that
gonna
so close
see
together?
Tom and her name has escaped my head. The one that was sitting on his lap,
Georgia.
I think
Steele, yeah.
definitely they will couple up. Yeah.
But so
I
why
really
are they
think
doing
so.
that then? Why are they having the public choose and then to do another recoupling?
Well, because if, for example, Tom steals someone, then there needs to sort of almost be a recalibration, doesn't there? I think it would be really interesting, and I don't know the answer to this question.
So Callum's under threat then?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
good point.
would this then end up being like the first dumping, potentially?
Maybe.
First, like, official public vote dumping?
I
'Cause we've
worry.
had, obviously, Lewis and Demi were kicked out in a kind of odd way, really. There wasn't...
I know, we were all so surprised at that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of a backdoor one, wasn't it?
That feels like forever ago already.
It
It's
really
so
does.
strange how that happens in Love
Yeah.
Island. You're so invested watching them.
Yeah.
And then they go, and then you're like, who?
Yeah.
Poor Jake.
Yeah.
Jake who?
Oh,
Was
yeah,
he even on this
Jake.
series?
Oh.
He went out so early. I know. How sad.
I know, but I worry that this could be when we see Anton, Kaz, Liberty end up looking quite vulnerable because, as we've said, they're not really with anyone. So we'll see what happens with that.
Okay, well, let's stay tuned.
I
and
know.
Well, I mean, we're not going to see you tomorrow because
Well,
Ollie's
I'll-
joining me instead.
Well, speaking of people getting on an airplane and saying that they're going to All Stars.
Oh my God, is that happening?
Guys,
Are you
I'm
going
split up
in?
with my husband? No, no, I'm just going to Cornwall. So far less glamorous, but I know the podcast is in great hands, and I'll be back on Monday, as will the podcast. So you can join us for Cracking On every weekday at 5 o'clock.